We are bringing community activists, parents, people of all races, of all religions, of all incomes, people who care about children, we're bringing them together. And this administration said that we are building a coalition of the whining. He called us a terrorist organization. And I will tell you that I have indeed struck terror in the hearts of many a 12-year-old during a pop quiz. But if this administration is terrified of the fact that no child left is absurd, it's unjust, it hurts children, then so be it. Americans who care will not be silent.
It's an honor to be with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a few words. I bring you obviously greetings from our offices. Let me begin by commending ACORN for all that the association has achieved over the years. Let me thank each of you for your continued efforts on such critical areas as the living wage, investment in our neighborhoods, adequate and equitable education funding, affordable housing, and fairness for all of our nation's immigrant communities. AFT members all across the United States are proud of our union's collaboration with ACORN on these and many other issues. For instance, in New York City, Philadelphia, and Albuquerque, ACORN and AFT locals have forged strong and effective coalitions in opposition to school privatization. The same is true in my hometown of New Orleans, where AFT's local affiliate, the United Teachers of New Orleans, worked very closely and successfully with ACORN in support of ACORN's Living Wage campaign. In Chicago, AFT's Local 1, the Chicago Teachers Union, continues to work with ACORN to help advance the city's Grow Our Own Teachers program, an innovative approach to teacher candidates training and recruitment that focuses on paraprofessionals, parents, and community residents to find applicants for hard-to-fill positions in hard-to-staff schools. At the national level, AFT joined ACORN as a part of a broad coalition that defeated Congressman Roy Backer's House Resolution 3722, the undocumented alien Emergency Medical Assistance Amendments of 2004. This bill would have undermined the security of our nation's public health systems and would have discouraged some of America's neediest residents from seeking even emergency medical treatment. And of course, all over the nation, from Indiana to Ohio, from Illinois to Florida, from New York to California, AFT members across these United States have joined forces with ACORN to address the kind of education funding shortfalls and inequities that are at the core of a crisis compounded by the unfulfilled promises of No Child Left Behind. Now, I've been asked to talk to you about education, but I want to begin by putting the topic of education in its appropriate context. First, let me say that all children can learn. All children. But we have a system of education in this country that has historically underfunded schools attended by minorities and particularly poor people. You're correct, it has been purposefully. But what we need to know is that in this struggle to correct it, we must have some understandings. Until the year 1955, and this is important, until the year 1955, it did not matter in this nation if you were a high school dropout. Because high school dropouts, all the way through 1955, if you added up all of their earnings from the time they entered the workforce until they retired, the earnings of high school dropouts was equal to the earnings of high school graduates. That is not true today. Therefore, our young people cannot afford to drop out of school. It will tremendously impact their economic and social well-being.
That's right.
Now, today, beginning with the Reagan administration, there have been some efforts to siphon funds away from public schools through vouchers, through tax credits, and through charter schools. Well, I'm here to tell you that each of you in this room need to understand that if we're going to help our kids learn, and they must, and they can, they must have, and their teachers must have, the resources that are necessary.
Yes.
Let me say that again. Our kids can learn, but they need the resources, and we have never in this history provided the resources to help poor and minority kids do well in school. And we must fight to change that. Now, your president says that we have been bushwhacked, and we have. You all know, and our last speaker really referred to it, something called the No Child Left Behind Act.
Yes.
Well, the No Child Left Behind Act is indeed an act.
Yes.
It is nothing more than theatrics which are designed not to help our kids, but to cause them to fail for the purposes of continuing to be the people that will work for the minimum wage,
yes,
while others are most successful and have better jobs.
That's right.
Now,
teach.
President Bush talks about no child left behind, but his rhetoric, now we shouldn't leave any child behind, but we should provide their teachers and their schools with the resources. Now, Mr. Bush lied when we talked about being bushwhacked. The reason that Congress passed this legislation is because the president promised that it would be fully funded. It's been around now for 2.5 years, and guess what? The United States Congress has failed to provide sufficient funds. How far insufficient? $17 billion. And if it continues not to fund it, then yes, in the year 2014, there will still be children that are left behind. Now, why did Mr. Bush lead the effort to underfund? He led it because he pushed through Congress this tax cut that leaves no millionaire behind.
That's right.
Our president has come forward with a tax cut at a time that he's locked and forced this country into war in Iraq, charging that there were weapons of mass destruction. Well, I'm here to say to you today that what the president has failed to recognize is that there are weapons of mass destruction in the U.S. of A. If you don't provide quality education for our students, that lack of a good education is indeed a weapon of mass destruction. Yeah. We have 44 million people in this country without good health care.
That's right.
Not providing health care to to 44 million Americans is a weapon of mass destruction. We have millions of our young people and some older citizens that are unemployed or underemployed.
Yes.
Well, I'm here to tell the president not having a good job is a weapon of mass destruction. We have senior citizens that depend on Social Security.
Yes.
That system at some point is going to run out of funds.
Yes.
The president needs to understand that fixing Social Security, or if it isn't fixed, that's a weapon of mass destruction. Thank you. Well, ACORN, you're here today. You're here in this meeting because you understand that, in the words of Donald Trump, we must say to George Bush, "You're fired." Convention reside on the Gulf Coast and the East Coast. We know that beginning on June 1st, a few days ago, the hurricane season came about. And that season in which hurricanes grow out in the Gulf and the Atlantic Ocean and hit land, particularly in the south part of this nation and the East Coast, that will continue until November.
Yes.
But we're here, ACORN, to say that come this November, Hurricane Kerry will blow the bushes back.